What really is yoga? Not the Americanized, bastardized, commercialized, Karenized, and capitalized version, but the yoga that is part of the six philosophical practices, darshanas, that came out of India. The yoga that is part of the Vedic arts, Vedanga, just like qigong is part of Tao spiritualism. Let's start by being honest. This is all my personal opinion, and I don't mean to offend anybody. This is my opinion. I don't go to a yoga studio anymore. In fact, by American standards, I don't practice yoga, even though I was a yoga practitioner for 30 years. Why? Because yoga in this country has become so westernized that now it is unrecognizable from its original format. The 1/8 of yoga is asana practice, and now asana has become synonymous with yoga. Asana is only 20% of yoga. Or yoga. It is not yoga, it is yoga. Yoga is a lifestyle, and the exercise part is 20% of it. 80% of that yoga is lifestyle, breathing, discipline, meditation, self-improvement, following rules and regulations and ethics. That part just kind of got lost in translation. With all due respect, the white people, they got me. They have won the yoga battle. You won, baby. You won. You call yourselves yogi. You have your chicken salad and smoothie after your yoga class. You form your clique. And when an Indian person walks in a yoga class, like, I don't fit in. What exactly are they doing with their so-called yoga? I don't know. Having said that, I've been to some amazing yoga classes, and a shout out to all of them. But I'm specifically talking about the yoga classes that are very westernized and not meant for a serious practitioner. And honestly, if going to a so-called yoga class and it's just 100% exercise makes anybody feel better, you know what? Good for them. But let's not call it yoga. Let's call it something else. Let's call it boga or joga or loga, or what used to be formerly known as yoga or more. Let me give you an example. Any kind of authentic food from any country, you have to reduce their spices, their flavors to cater to the white palate. The same thing happened here. So here's an example. Any kind of authentic cuisine and food from any country in the world, it comes here to the West, to United States. And then obviously you have to reduce the spices, the flavors, and you have to tone it down basically because it's such a foreign taste that you have to cater to the white palate. So understandably, because if they don't do that, the restaurants are not going to make any money. Nobody's going to eat the food. And slowly over many years, you can increase. Some people will be able to eat more authentic food. So imagine the same thing that happened to the curry has happened here to the yoga. Imagine you have a green Thai curry. It has Thai chilies, it has galangal, it has lots of turmeric, coconut milk, herbs, and whatnot. Now take away all the spices and just put like 10%. It's so that it almost tastes like baby food. So that's what basically is yoga's baby food. Like I said, my only problem is just don't use the word yoga. I mean, it's a great exercise. You want to exercise, it's awesome. We all love it. Just call it boga, joga, noga, loga, poga, hoga, whatever. Don't call it yoga. Anyway, the point is they got me, the white people. I do qigong now, and I do my personal pranayama breathing practice, my swadhyaya, self-introspection, and meditation at home. Honestly, I don't need no 23-year-old with 200 hours of YTT yoga teacher training under their belt telling me what to do if they don't walk the walk and talk the talk. However, if they do walk the walk and talk the talk, I'll listen. Having said that, my personal yoga teacher was white. She was amazing. She was a very serious yoga teacher. In fact, I gotta get her here for a podcast. So not to say that everybody is like that, but most of it is like that. So what we want to talk about today is yoga as a darshana. So we're going to talk about the different verses from the ancient texts and what they say about the yoga practice. Enjoy. So I'll tell you a story that I've heard from the horse's mouth. I've heard from my teacher. I've heard from very serious yoga practitioners. So 40, 50, 30 years ago, yoga was not pop culture. It was not mainstream. So it was very, very authentic. You had authentic teachers coming in from America to America, and people were taking to it. And I have a dear friend who used to give classes in yoga in Southern Florida for a long time. She stopped doing it. So she's been doing it for 30 years. She said she saw yoga being turned into all kind of body types, and there was diversity and there was inclusivity, and it kind of changed a little bit. Maybe it was just Southern Florida, and I could be wrong. I don't have any facts here. We're just talking opinions. And she would call the yoga students who were attending the classes just a yoga doll, a doll that rhymes with larvae, a yoga larvae. So interestingly, there's a doll out there doing yoga poses if you want to look it up. Anyway, this was my friend's personal opinion. And then of course my yoga teacher also stopped. My yoga teacher did not even have mirrors in her yoga studio. She said, I don't want people looking at their face and bodies and admiring their bodies. Yoga is about going within. You're going within. It's an internal practice. It's not I'm going to look at my asana and see if my hip is rotating or flexing. It is not about that at all. Of course, the asana part is, but like I said, asana is 20%. So anyway, some of my friends who've been yoga teachers for a long time. Now, this is their opinions, and I've noted it down. So imagine that, 30, 40 years ago, you had these yogis, you had these gurus who were coming to the US, and and it was just fantastic. They were bringing authentic traditional yoga practices, Eastern practices here, and anybody could afford to go there. It didn't cost the earth. Working class, new person, hippies, everybody was coming in. Now the yoga seems to have gone from, there's been a gentrification of yoga according to some of my research and some of the yoga teachers that I've talked to, that it's climbed from the working class echelon to the upper class, and now it went from yoga for all to yoga for people who have money, who can afford to give $20 for a class. So imagine if you go to 3 classes a week, that's $60, and you do it for an entire month, it's at least $100 or more. And then you wear a $90 yoga outfit, and there's all this, the yoga outfit industry is millions of dollars. I don't know, again, we don't have any facts, but it's a big industry. And then, so if you're going to attend 3 yoga classes a week, you need at least 3 yoga outfits. And then you need the yoga shoes, you need the yoga mat, you need the yoga bag. You're going to start using something to drink water from. It's a whole industry. But that's not what yoga is about. It's about, so it's a gentrification of the yoga practice. And so all those people who were very serious yogis, 30, 40 years ago, and they're still around, don't get me wrong, but a lot of them are not part of the mainstream pop culture yoga. So I call it gentrification of the asana process or gentrification of the poses, but because they did not take all the limbs of yoga and gentrify that. The gentrification was only of the asana part because it just felt wonderful. So the question is yoga really the domain of more elitist, entitled people? Has yoga become gentrified? That's the question. So personal opinion again, this happened with me, and it has happened with some of my Indian friends. So years ago, and this is going back like 8 or 9 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, I went to a conference in yoga. Again, it was in Florida. And I went in, and actually the yoga class was wonderful. I attended one. It was a very simple, gentle yoga class. But because it was in a hotel, they had what I call the white person's temperature. It was 65 degrees. I was freezing. I did not know it was going to be that cold. Anyway, the class was good. And there were about 75 people in the class. It was a huge hall. There were only two colored people, me and another person. I'm like, where are the Indians? Where are the colored people? And this is going back years ago. And then when we were out there, you could count on one hand the number of non-white people in the conference. I mean, this was not a mainstream conference, but why is it? And people are just spending so much money. That's not what yoga is. The whole point of yoga is we give up the materialistic tendencies and go within and try to find the light. You don't get into, this is going the opposite way. It is the opposite trajectory. You're not going within, you're going outside. So my experience, I was telling you, when I was first came to this country, I went to my first yoga class and I used to practice yoga regularly, and asana and pranayam, dhyana, all of it. So I would wear loose pajamas. We call it salwar kameez. It's a Punjabi outfit, so you wear like a tunic and very loose pajamas. And I don't think they do this anymore, but this was a fancy schmancy gymnasium, and they had a dress code for yoga that I didn't know about, which was like leotard and stuff. I didn't even know what a leotard was, and I was new to the country. And they asked me to leave. They said, you need to buy this stuff, and you can buy it from our class, from our shop. Otherwise, you have to leave. So you could not wear loose pajamas the salwar kameez of the Indian outfit in a yoga class. And another thing is that I've had young women, and I'm a big person. I'm a big woman. I'm a big kapha woman. And, we've been body shamed in yoga classes. Or after the class when people, they have their cliques. So I got news for you. Yoga does not body shame. Yoga is for everybody. The whole premise of yoga is that anyone, any person, he, she, they, them, old, young, white, colored, black, Hindu, Christian, anybody. Yoga is for everybody. It's a philosophy, meaning at any age, it doesn't matter if you cannot do asana, you can do pranayam. If you cannot do pranayam, you can do dhyana. You can meditate. You can do breathing exercises. You can sit down on a chair and do. What is this that we have to contort our body and we have to be thin? And if we cannot contort our body and we are not thin, then we have no right to go in a yoga class. Thank you. You can keep your yoga classes. I will go within. I do not need to look in the mirror. So this is the beauty of this Eastern philosophy in yoga is we have to go within. We have to become less materialistic. We have to find ourselves. It's a science of Atma, science of self. And ask yourself, is that what's really happening in this country? So I put the question out there. Is yoga lost its way? Has yoga lost its way? I would say probably it lost its way more than 10 years ago. Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga is the cessation of the turnings of the mind. This is in Yoga Sutras. So what exactly is this process of yoga? It's one of the 6 darshanas, 6 philosophical yoga practices. One of them is Sankhya. And of course, Ayurveda is based on Sankhya. One of them is Vedanta. And yoga is one of those 6 philosophical systems. It is a practice that uses the physical, the mental, the spiritual, rituals, rules, regulation, breath, cleansing, plant-based sattvic diet, and you do the physical part of it, the asanas part of it, according to your age, your level, and you take as much time as you need, and you do not need to look in the mirror. It is to balance your body, mind, and spirit. And we Ayurveda practitioners use yoga to balance the mind, specifically the use of pranayama. And people who do yoga use Ayurveda to balance the physical body. So we are using, it's very interdependent on each other. It must be practiced under the guidance of an expert teacher, not an expert asana teacher, expert yoga teacher who's following all the 8 limbs of yoga. But yes, you can practice one, you can spend more time with one limb of yoga. There are 8 limbs of yoga. Yoga's impact on health and wellness cannot be overstated. It is widely recognized for its physical, mental, and emotional benefits, and it is often integrated into therapy and stress support programs. This particular podcast is a personal opinion and a discussion, does not reflect the view of Narayana Ayurveda and the organization. It is just a question of the movement in the last 30, 40 years of where yoga started from and where it's heading and where it currently is now. Thank you.